Hello and welcome, as it is the end of the 26th day of January 2018. My name is Derek. Everything within your own risk and own reward with the hashtag crypto trading video. Lots of altcoins that are going to be shown, mainly focusing on buy targets for level or markets that seem as if they could be or favored to be falling down, with what I would consider obvious areas where support should be found. Now with Bitcoin, this reminds me of that beautiful sight and sound some may have heard and seen before. Say you have a dog whom has given birth, and maybe after a week, 9, 10 days, decides to leave the babies and lay down at a more comfortable spot. And the babies cry and cry louder and louder and louder, and the mother doesn't care. But at some point, she's going to go back and feed them. And just like with these markets, they go lower and lower. And just as people get annoyed with the loud crying puppies, you get annoyed with the prices going lower and lower. We have a situation in here where we have a symmetrical triangle on this. This could fall even more. Yet the mother of the pups will hear them cry louder, and at some point, okay, enough is enough. Finally, I'll get at it. And that's how I'm perceiving this Bitcoin market to be. This previous last congestion area is the conservative level of support, which is in the range of about 82 change, down to about 75. A more aggressive level of support is 5,000. I think if 5,000 hits, what's more likely is it would shoot fast back up to the 7,000 range, if that's the case, and then quickly thereafter that. And I don't think it's going to actually do that. I really don't. I believe it's either going to find support here or continuation within what should be a sideways range, which would be due to test the upper part of this area, not only up to about even 12,000, but test into the 13s, 14s. But now it's been days of just hovering around 10,000, 11,000. Not much going on. A lot of the altcoins showing very similar things. I know myself trading Litecoin, it just hasn't been done because volatility not there. Okay then. So enough about the Bitcoin. This is all a numbers game for me. And when I show stuff about the charts that I'm going to be showing, which will be wings, and then all the ones following below, these are all numbers that I've calculated, practically all Fibonacci. So let's get started with wings. Here's a situation on the daily time frame where the market came back down to the December lows. A lot of the markets bottoming at this point. And the top in here, a little bit of a selling in here, but now it's also got that symmetrical triangle. I don't know what it's going to do, if its next significant move is going to be a break up towards this upwards point, or if it's going to be in a leg lower. I think one way of being safe, if you think something like this is going to be good on the long term, is to buy some now with a buy order ready. And that level for key Fibonacci, I got 8,254.48 as the level. So 82, we can see, has been the perfect support level so far in here. Didn't give the greatest of rallies, got up to about 10,000. One of the things I like about buying on the way down is if you ever get into situations where you're unsure about it, you can often say, just get out now, and literally still get out with a small profit. But with the next lower level is 54.48, which coincides in, does it coincide with anything? Well, this is where the rallies came from. 54 right in here. Yeah. What I like about it, it's but pretty much half the distance from here to here, and here. Although the logarithmic scaling isn't the greatest on this, this might be one of the more weaker of the levels. I don't think I'm going to put a buy order here at all. I haven't put any buy orders in, although I most likely will for all of the others. EBST is the next one, eBoost. Okay, within this, okay, this is a 400-minute time frame. Let's change this to daily. You have a spot where you have this big rally and then it falls. Now the logarithmic on here just isn't the case. You can't see it. Actually, I can show it. Now you can. Right in here it says log with the blue scale. I can turn it off. It really makes little difference. If you think about log and how it works, I look at it as far as 1,000 to 3,000 being the same as going from 30,000 to 90,000. It's a 3x move. So 1,000 to 3,000 is here, and 3,000 and 9,000 is, yeah, that just doesn't, or 900, either way, doesn't make sense. Now, as far as the numbers are concerned, key Fibonacci levels come in at 52.73 and 23.40. That's based on this high and the low. So when we go on to the 400-minute time frame, the 5,200 level has been support. Not the greatest of rallies again, but the next level below that would again come in at 23.40. So that would be roughly around here. I'd even think you can get away with about 2,000, because oftentimes it is pierced extra. And the general rule of thumb for me, I think, if you're placing buy or sell orders and you're wondering about your number, I think with a buy order, usually more times than not, it's better to go lower than where you may be thinking and try to get it cheaper. Same on the sell orders for multiple reasons. Oftentimes, if you're just playing around, you notice, man, I bought it here, it went lower. And two, it's just better playing mathematically with, if you're buying at 5,000 rather than 6,000 on a particular thing, you're just going to get better profit on it at the end. All right, then, let's move on to the next one, which is edgeless, EDG. And in here, this is a situation where it's been in the sideways range for quite some time, resisting in here for a little bit at the lower end, but it is breaking down here on the 400-minute time frame. Looking at this on the daily, we can see if it's going to do like one of those gap fills. Now, where did it come from? Came from around this 10,000 even number. I like playing the psychological numbers. I think it would even, again, pierce extra. Just because it's 10 doesn't mean that that's where the bottom's going to be. Now, as far as the key Fibonacci level, I got 13,792 and 10,336. So that's that 10,000 number. As far as the 13,792, well, it did pierce a little bit extra below, but that was exactly where the support was. The rallies in which came from this one were good, because if you go from 13 into like 20, you're getting about a 50% gain, so not bad. If you buy a 10, you'd be looking to sell this thing at around the 14-ish and change mark. So you're looking for about a 40+% move, I would think, on a play of this nature. Let's go on to this. TX, this is no Fibonacci. This is just where you can notice floors, sort of like if you're an architect building apartment buildings or any building and you just go floor management. Let's bring TX up. So there's the floor in here, there's a floor in here. Let me put this on a 3-day time frame. So you have your little, and I know the logarithmic chart shown better would do much more substantial job, but you have this original level. You have maybe the second floor in here, which hasn't had much partying. Then this floor in here, which has had a decent amount. Now this part in here, it's played around with the upper end of the two ranges. As support is basically right where the line is now, and in here it's down towards this level here. So very noticeable that around 8,000, 8,500 to 10,000 is where I think support would come if it falls below here. Now notice situations like this, you got the pierces that fall extra like this. Originally it just came down towards here, but it is a decent enough of a eyesight move from here to here that would justify to me that that would be an area that it might go down towards if it breaks down. THC, let's move on to this one. And it had a huge gain recently. I mean, really huge. And there's that huge gain. Again, the logarithmic chart is not accurate on this. That when you have a move where you go from like 238 to like 5,000 and change, like you typically do with most codes, well over 20x gain. And I'm not being sarcastic when I say you typically have those gains. So yeah, most codes don't, but wow, that's pretty substantial. The Fibonacci from this to this, I'm going to talk about the 23.6 move down first, then a 38.2% correction, then a 61.8. The 23.6 comes in at 24.54, which is right here. It's already came down to that point already. And it's lowered, hide it, whether it's going to make a move and at least test this level or manage to break out above the 18 average of highs and at least attempt to test previous high. I don't know. But if it does break below here, the next key level, which is the 61 point or 38.2% down correction, is 1561. 1500 is a psychological number with no previous history. And this thing is very overextended as it stands. These hemp-based coins oftentimes can have some sporadic selling corrections and big rallies. And not only the hemp coins, but the crypto space in general does such. Yeah, it's possible this thing can consolidate in here and then maybe go up further later on. I'm not stating that not to be the fact, but I've seen a lot of these wild retracements as well. So I think in here with the 61.8% retracement coming in at 751, that it wouldn't surprise me if this later in time does fall to such a level where that is maybe the bottom in the future foresight of things. It would not surprise me. It's a little scary buying, however, even at that level. So there's only two ways in which I could ever hold this coin. Unfortunately, the second one is not true for me. But the first one is if you know fundamental analysis to know something well enough, not only that it's a great coin, but that a major sell-off is not likely to occur. And then, of course, number two, if you actually had coins during the rise higher, you sold some, and you've got amazing profits, and you really can't lose on the trade, well, then now you're holding on the just in case. But in pretty much every scenario, if you're able to sell on the way up and say if it comes back down, well, you can get some big deals, because this is a situation where if you're selling at 3,000, you can be looking to buy back at like 1,000 and 1,500 for spectacular gains, especially if you're selling at 4,500. Same thing. Sell 1,000 and then maybe buy like 2,200 back at much cheaper prices, pay less Bitcoin than you sold it for, and get a lot more back in return, and then just hope for the great up and down seesaw action. Let's move on to the next one, which is Omi's Go. And here's the situation where this Fibonacci and this Fibonacci from here. The first significant level upwards was and is still 15, 12, 934 below that. So 934 on the way up, it did not resist it. It rather supported that level. But this level of Fibonacci has been resisting it. If this breaks through the support level, generally speaking in charts, the key rule is you have point high to point low. When you go from point low to 61.8%, and then you break down a key support level, intended target is 38.2%, and just happens to be 934. Okay, cash, it just has a predictable target of 25 to 29. I want to go through the rest of these relatively quickly the rest of the way. Okay, this thing isn't cooperating with me, but it will here. There we go. Don't know why it does that at the odd time. So here's the market, which has all of these beautiful up and down choppy movements. And I say beautiful for your portfolio if you play it right. Breaking down by the support, you're talking about going down towards this previous low. And here, where it came from. And it looks like, what would you expect a decent sized breakout to be? And that would be about, that'd be about right. Percentage coins. Let's talk about key Fibonacci here. So here's a situation where we've had the rally, and it's now got the descending triangle from this down wave in here, or down point. And its key levels on here show or state 750 and about 550. So 750 has found support before. It rallied up to a little bit, not decent game. So 550, you can even probably get her down closer to 500 as well, maybe 515 as an area where if this thing breaks down. Below that, of course, you got previous low, but 515 I would see as the next support mark. See a coin. This is going to be very similar to THC. And it had a spectacular game. When you go from like 52 up to about 700 almost, that's pretty spectacular. 23.6% down is 352. So 352 is roughly about here. So it supported this mark in here. Pierced extra. You like to do that often. But the move from 350 to like 500, not bad. 40%-ish was your maximum gains. Now it's been grinding itself lower. If it does break down to another support mark, then 236 and 124. Now what kind of history do we have at 236? Compared to hemp coin, there is a lot. At least enough because it was the congestion area in around Christmas time. So I think if this thing goes down, maybe around 200 would be a likely area, I think, where you could get in, and you could probably get some selling over 300 and get about a 50% gain. And of course, if this thing goes up higher, you can get spectacular potential gains of 3, 4, 10x scores later on if that's something that you're looking for as well. And I don't blame you if you are. Those are spectacular scores. DGB, the exact same sort of style. Dig a bite. And here's where we can see coming down to what was a 23.6% correction. Now in a descending triangle, breaking down by that support mark of 485 brings us to 337. So 485 we can see was the nice support in here. It rallied up to about 600, so that's half decent. 337, it's got some decent history in here. I wouldn't be too enthusiastic about this play, although on a 61.8% down correction, down to about 187, 175-ish or so. That would be very interesting. You know what? If I looked at this chart on a better log scale, I probably would be. But yeah, that's the 61.8% down move. Dash, which is actually more popular of a name, but it's got an obvious support level. Okay, so within this, we got key Fibonacci in at 68 and 53 change. And the Fibonacci that we would be using, and I'm trying to figure this out right now because I already did this already, probably from this low and this high. So yeah, we got 68, 54. So 68 would have calculated in here. Support twice. If it breaks through, then yeah, the 53.79, which would be this area of previous resistance in here. But again, what I like to see with the line roughly in the middle here is that the distance of space from like here to here and here down to here is about right. And when you break a leg of support, yeah, you can have a huge monstrous break, and oftentimes when you do, it can still work. For if you bought, say I'm like, okay, if we break down this support back in December, I want to buy this at say 0.5 on the 514 handle. Even though it goes down below 40, it worked out because the profits came in here. So I don't have to necessarily always get the bottom, but I realize oftentimes when I get close and I could get better, it can still be profitable, which is what the key thing towards that is. So finally, Guppy will be the last one. And this one hasn't been around for as long, but we can see here that the key levels would take us to 5,000 and 31.80. So 5,000 has already right here. So that was a support level. This would have been like a 23%. So therefore 31.80 would be down towards this previous key support. Also, like I state, when you look at the differential of size movements, just like from this support down to here, down to here. So I would expect you could buy here, then sell up in this previous area. So thank you for tuning in to this video, and have yourself a great weekend and day. Bye-bye.